A million faces, they're looking at you.
Hello everyone, it's break time with me again, and today I'm going to be reading from my first book, Endurance: The Power Within. And since we've been talking about it a lot because it was just reviewed on ESP Presents, I'm not going to read the first 3 chapters. I'm going to read chapter 4, but before I do that, I will kind of do a recap on the first 3 chapters. And I'll give you some, I guess, a little background history about this book. So I wrote this book back in 2009, and it starts out with a girl named May Gordon. She's 16 at the time that the story begins, and she is, she stays to herself. She's quiet. She's an introvert, and she lives in a home with her stepfather, her mom, and her sister, her half-sister. Her father died when she was young. Her mother remarried her father's best friend, and she's kind of like, she's treated, I don't want to say she's treated like the black sheep of the family, but she's not treated fairly. The stepfather does not like her. He's abusive towards her, and he becomes sexually abusive towards her. May's mother is still, in a way, she's not over the passing of her husband. So she's not really mentally or emotionally there for May. So May kind of falls through the cracks. Their relationship falls through the cracks, I should say. However, May has an ability. She's able to, I guess, she has like psychic abilities. She doesn't really pay attention to them. She has it. It's not a big deal to her. So, with her ability, she kind of zones out a lot. And that's pretty much goes through the first chapter. So the first chapter is just explaining her, who she comes from, how she is. And then it comes to the second chapter. Thank you. Hi, Eugene. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining in. So in the second chapter, we go into Max, and we learn about Max's whole family. His family comes from, his great-grandfather was from Venezuela. He moved to Trinidad, and his father and uncle are born and raised in, well, they were born and they left Trinidad when they were young. Let's just say like 6 years old. And then they moved to the U.S. They moved to Florida. They are multi-billionaires. The father started a company where he has a lot of inventions and new technology and things like that. And that's where the family's wealth is coming from. So by the third chapter, we talk about Max and May making their connection. Now, Max has always had something for May since middle school. Oh, have you? I have, so in this series, there's 7 books. All my books are online. I have a total of about 16 books that are all available on Amazon. So I'll put the links to the first book. I have like the series and stuff. I'll put some links down for everyone. Thank you for joining in. And okay, so Max's mother, her name is Jenna, and if you watched ESP Presents with Ellen, she will tell you Jenna is a character. Jenna is a handful. Max's father's name is Maxwell. So Max, he's a good kid. He was born and raised filthy rich, but there's still some humility in him. He's not all about, I got money and you're below me. He doesn't really have that attitude. So he is a good kid. He does have money. He does like to date. What teenage boy doesn't like to get with girl? So, so let's get into chapter 4. And chapter 4 is called Escape. And this is talking about with May. So this is after her and Max had this connection in their last period class earlier that day, where he mentally channeled a message to her, and she heard. So she's thinking she's becoming... Is he still human? Yes, he's still human. She's thinking that she's turning into a bigger freak because she heard somebody else's thoughts. And Max is thinking, yes, I finally got this girl's attention. So there's excitement there. However, May kind of ran away from him. When the bell rang, she took off, and he couldn't catch up to her because the girl he was messing around with at the time, named Tasia, yanked him backwards and was like, where are you going? So that's just what took place previous. So this is chapter 4, and it's called Escape. May grudgingly gathered her stuff as she exited the school bus. She often dreamed of leaving somewhere. Or I'm sorry, I don't read, I write, so forgive me. So let me start over. May grudgingly gathered her stuff as she exited the school bus. She often dreamt of living somewhere else. Not that her house didn't look inviting. However, what goes on behind closed doors, no white picket fence can hide forever. If people only knew the hell I'm living in, it makes no sense to dream. The world is cold, May grumbled as she entered her townhouse. Or as her stepfather so proudly put it, his home. She was only the uninvited guest. May opened the front door and placed her purse on a hallway table close to the door. She slowly pulled her backpack off her shoulders and dropped it down in the corner next to the front door. Honeybee, I have lunch waiting for you in the kitchen, on the kitchen table, her mother, Song Pollard, announced as May entered the kitchen. May's father, Jacob Gordon, had nicknamed her Honeybee when she was born due to her mixed heritage. Her mother loved calling her Honeybee. The gesture helped her to feel close to her deceased husband. Jacob had been murdered 10 years ago. Jacob had been murdered 10 years ago in Atlanta, Georgia, where they once lived. After his untimely death, May had never been the same. She experienced frightening encounters, visions, and dreams of her father, who warned her of people who came in and out of their lives. Often late at night, she could feel someone gently smoothing her hair, a kind, gentle hand gliding over her face. May privately told her mother, hoping that she would not think she was going crazy, but it backfired. Song remarried 2 years after Jacob's death to his longtime friend Thomas Pollard. May did not get along with her stepfather. Thomas may have been able to get things past her mother, but not her. Eventually, his true colors were revealed to May. Not only was he verbally and emotionally abusive towards her, but also, as of late, he had become more sexually abusive. Although he had not yet forced himself on her, he had touched her in ways no fatherly figure should be touching a child. It didn't matter how many times she confessed to her mother, it would always backfire on May, which made her look like an emotionally unstable liar. The school counselors accused her of making dreadful claims to get attention from her mother due to the death of her father and hasty marriage to her father's friend. Thomas had taken so much away from May. Her mother distrusted her, at times making her feel like the other woman in her mother's marriage. He did not allow May visitors or friends. He had scared off all of May's playmates as a child. Cora was the only one who seemed to intimidate him, which was why May finally received the chance to develop a friendship with her. The past few nights, Thomas had tried to break into her room late at night while the rest of the family slept. Thomas' recent actions were new, and May feared he was attempting to steal the one grace that kept her pure. May had brought new locks for her door and was all too happy when her mother installed an emergency exit system in each upstairs room in case of a fire or break-in. May eased down into a chair at the kitchen table and began to eat her lunch. Her mind reflected on the haunting experience she had earlier that day. It was strange. She was sure it was Max Martinez's voice. May started to feel as if she was growing into an even more significant of a freak. Now that she was overhearing other people's thoughts, May replayed the words in her mind. Come back to me. He was arguing with his girlfriend. Maybe she was trying to break up with him, and he truly wants to be with her, May speculated to herself. This doesn't explain why he looked at me, she mumbled out loud. How was your day? Did you have a good time? Her mother asked in broken English. It's fine, Mother, May replied in Chinese. If I knew how to speak Chinese, I would just say it right there. Kind of cool. Song looked into her daughter's beautiful green eyes. She loved her dearly and wished she knew how to make her happy. Since her husband had died, May's eyes had lost their sparkle. Marrying Thomas didn't seem to make life better for May. Thomas and May bitterly argued for years, and it was only getting worse. May had so much hatred towards her stepfather. If only I could make her see how much her stepfather loves her, Song thought to herself. Yeah, her mother's a little disillusioned. What, Mom? May snapped, becoming agitated by her mother's silent stare. Nothing, Song replied, becoming further lost in thought. She so desperately wanted a perfect home, but May and Thomas regularly at each other's necks. It was an impossible dream. May returned to eating her lunch, continuing her thoughts about Max. As much as she hated to admit it, she lusted after him, just like every other girl at their high school. Maybe if only I were prettier, maybe just maybe I could see myself with him, she thought. Her 9-year-old sister, Araya Pollard, suddenly rushed through the front door with her two snobby friends, Brittany and Jessica, in tow. Food is on the table for you, Araya, Song yelled in Chinese as Araya flew past the kitchen. Not hungry, Mom, Araya shouted back, heading up the stairs. Girls, Song sighed as she walks into the living room to finish her chores. May jolted as she felt the sudden vibrations of her cell phone. Scrambling, she pulled it from her front pocket. Hello, she answered. May, it's Cora. Hey, Cora, what's up? What are you doing tonight? Nothing. Sitting home, I guess. No. There's a big party tonight at Zach Gilman's house. His parents are out of town for the weekend. I don't know about that. What if they come back or something? I got enough problems, May lightly joked. May, come on. We're teenagers. We're supposed to get in trouble. I don't know, Cora, but I guess I can think about it, May sighed. Okay, I will call you back in 2 hours to get your answer, and it better be yes, Cora demanded. I had friends like that growing up, so... Okay, I will call you back in 2 hours. Oh, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Okay, bye, May ended, and she pressed the end button on her cell phone. She finished her lunch and headed upstairs to her bedroom, making sure the door was locked behind her. Kicking off her shoes, she flopped down on her full-size bed and dozed off. It felt as if only a few minutes had passed when May suddenly was awakened by the sound of someone trying to pick the lock of her bedroom door. Fear gripped her as she glanced over at the alarm clock on her nightstand. No, she whispered. It was after 9. Her stepfather had been home for an hour, and her mother and sister were at Araya's gymnastics practice. May jumped to her feet and grabbed her purse and cell phone. Then she paused. Wait, I thought, how did this get up here? She whispered. She knew she did not bring her purse upstairs with her. The sound of the doorknob being jingled brought her back to reality. She didn't have time to think. She could hear something being shoved between the door and the frame, trying to pry it open. She quickly grabbed the emergency ladder, thanking her mother once more for insisting on